No prosecutor, no matter how skilled, no matter how dedicated, can handle all of these cases alone. They really are, there's so many layers and there's so many issues to be addressed that working with other criminal justice professionals and other people in the system of people who work with older adults is really, really important. I do that on a case-by-case basis with individual cases, whether it's working closely with law enforcement from the very beginning of the investigation all the way through to a final conviction, working with Adult Protective Services and getting all of their documents from them, the results of their investigation, any history that they might have on both my perpetrator and the victim, working with aging services and advocates to make sure that the victim's needs are addressed throughout the whole process. All of that is really important.
Elder abuse cases tend to be quite complex. They tend to involve more than one type of abuse. They tend to involve 3 or more systems. So when working with complex cases, we need each other. If a bank notices that there's some sort of unusual activity in an older person's bank account, they may contact Adult Protective Services. And so they're not going to necessarily be able to do that investigation alone. So they may contact maybe the district attorney or Adult Protective Services. And then maybe Adult Protective Services goes out and they investigate and they see in that home that here's an older adult who has a home attendant perhaps, and the person though has no food. They have no ability to go shopping, they're not able to cook, they seem to not be, their hygiene seems to be poor. There's something really desperately wrong in this home, and in fact, maybe there might be, it might have become a drug den where drugs are being sold out of the home. So now Adult Protective Services actually needs to reach out to law enforcement. They may need to reach out to a medical provider. Perhaps this older adult needs to be rehoused while law enforcement is dealing with the drug dealers. Maybe they need temporary shelter. So all of a sudden, here's this situation that started with the bank detecting something, and other systems and professionals, in order to resolve it, in order to protect and provide safety and a quality of life and well-being for the older adult, all these other people need to become involved.
If you're fortunate enough to handle cases with older victims, you can put together a team. You might even be able to do it without asking a million people for permission. You know about Adult Protective Services, hopefully. Hopefully you've done some training with some of the other folks in your office about the issue of elder abuse, perhaps, and maybe you've brought in Adult Protective Services to give a talk on what they do. Training's really important. But once you've made contacts within agencies like Adult Protective Services, the Department for the Aging, once you've made contacts with maybe a geriatric unit at a local hospital, once you've called up a few of the banks in your neighborhood where there's been exploitation going on, you've got the names. And if you haven't even met these people, you can find out who they are. Just do it. Get their phone numbers and their addresses and say you'd like to have a round table. Refreshments will be served. I find that if you have food, folks come. And you want to talk about the issue of elder abuse.
We had a meeting and we brought everyone together, and we had about 40 people in the room, and we went around the table and just talked about all the different issues we face in doing our jobs every day. And from that initial meeting, we created an elder abuse council that continues to meet now 14 years later. We have no funding for it. It's just a matter of people coming together and talking about problems and building relationships, and thereby improving how we respond to these cases collectively. So it's very doable, and I just want to encourage people to think about doing that in their own communities.
The advice I would give to a prosecutor who's interested in starting is get out from your desk, get out from the office, go into the community and start talking to people, start asking questions, start talking to your Adult Protective Services, talk to seniors, talk to advocates, and find out what is going on in your community and start building relationships. Prosecutors typically are not trained to be networkers. We are trained to be reactive. We get hired out of law school to become young prosecutors, and immediately on day one, you get spoon-fed a case. You never had to go look for that case. You get given it. Here's your drugs case, here's your burglary case, here's your robbery case, go prosecute it. But with elder abuse, it's a whole different ballgame. You're going to have to use your networking skills to create relationships, to actually go and look for cases. But they're out there. They're submerged. They're hidden because of who we're dealing with. We're dealing with victims who are too embarrassed, who are too ashamed. We're dealing with victims who are incapacitated. And so it's the prosecutor who can light that fire in the community. And it's amazing when a prosecutor comes out from the office and starts getting into the community, they're going to be embraced with open arms by all the different agencies. And their job is going to be made a whole lot easier.